Okay, good. So we will continue with I have not opened the Eclipse. 1 second. Where is my Eclipse? Okay. All right. So why my system is not responding? There's something else running. Okay, it is better now. Let me close this. Okay, so we will continue the hibernate story. So till we started with the fetch yesterday. Let me finish that fetch, and once I will recap the entire hibernate configuration.
Okay, Rajesh, cool.
Okay, so when let me comment this out. So for fetch, what I did, I am calling the method inside the class using an object, and I pass the session factory. Here, I open the session. I am querying the class, which is user. So when I query the class Hibernate, for Hibernate, it is not class, it is a table. So it is going to query this particular table, user table. And since in user table, the cascade is there and the set of the address table is there, we are getting all the records from the address and its own child. So I pass 31 as the data, which I'm interested to query. So which is the 31 primary key in the user table. Like, yeah, I've already added a criteria and criteria object dot. The only downside is you cannot add a criteria of the child object here, meaning you cannot add a criteria to the address object from this one. Let me add an order. Add, I want to order by add order. But of course, only one record is there. So this is not going to make any big order dot ascending. So just you know that how to order it. If we give this, it's going to generate an order query. I will create one alias here. Create alias. No, create alias can be given only for the objects. Okay. Let me run this without this. So this is a user fetch. Just in the queries, the order by has been added. Now I want to query the address. Okay, that is one thing interesting I want to show you. So let me write a method to fetch address. And the input will be session factory. The return will be T002 address. It is T002 address list. And address list will be in here, address list. Here I will be giving the address table to fetch. And first what I'll do, let me remove these and I'll just blindly fetch the address. So in the main program, I'll command this list. So I'll command the user list. I will go ahead, write a list of T002 address list equal to DAOIMPL object dot fetch address session factory. So sysout address list. Okay. Let me run this. So
Rajesh, here just we are going to fetch the list of the address, right?
Correct. I'm fetching the address table as it is. I'm giving it's a select star from address table. Blindly it will fetch all the records. 28 rows will be fetched.
Okay.
So expected everything has come. And the last line, if you see, everything has come. But the interesting fact here is, if I debug, I can show you that. We are actually fetching the address.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a debug which is stopped here. So if I open the address list, so these are the address objects. So 28 should come by 24 because of join, I think. No problem. So 24 records. Of this, you note here something. The first address is a string. Address ID is the primary key. The user object has come automatically. The parent. When saving, we gave the parent-child relationship, right? In the address object, we set the user ID. The same way, while fetching, Hibernate will bring its parent also. So any address object, suppose this address object ID is 1, which means user object 1 will come here. If I see this user object, I can see the user object completely. See here, he is Sunday. So the parent of this address is coming up automatically. We need not do a query to fetch the parent. So all I can do is just address list dot get of, let's say 0th element dot get of user object. I'll get the parent. I'll get the user object.
Because
we have a mapping.
Mapping, right? Okay.
Yes.
We're getting the whole details of the address list.
Correct. Not only the address list, its parent also we are getting.
Yeah, parents are.
Yeah, parent and children both are coming. The address parent is also there. The address children also will be there, which is the address zip. So if I F6, so we got the user object. When I click the user object, all the user inside that address also is coming up. So that is different. When I go to address, I get the address zip set here. If this address is empty, so this is a collection, meaning child table. This is a parent table. So for every record, it will have its parent. So which parent this address belongs to, I'll know that. If I go here, the parent is 31. So every address will have its own parent data. This will be very useful when we are the real-time scenario is we want to show all the address. We want to show all the address in a table. We want to show all the address in a table. And in the last column, we want to show the user also. Let's say the address name, and since we don't have any other property, just the address name. Along with that, we want to show for which user this address is. In the normal JDBC, we have to do one more select. We have to pass the address ID, fetch from the address table, join with the user table, and write a query. Let us say, I'll go to query editor. So select star from T002 address. If this is the query, which is going to give me the address data, then if I want to view the user data also along with the address, Hibernate has shown me, right? Well, let's say for this address, it is by default bringing me and telling that this address belongs to 31. So the address ID 33 belongs to a user 31. If I want to see that here, it is not possible here. I want to add a join. A for address, I'll join P001 user and U, where A dot user ID equal to U dot user ID and A dot address ID equal to, what is ID? 33. So if I pass this ID, I will get 33, address to 31 is the user ID 31, username RS7. That's what I got here. Automatically the join was done and Hibernate brought it because we have the relationship set properly. Otherwise, after doing a select query of address table, I have to pass this ID into this query and do one more fetch and then get the user data. So that is one of the advantage which I wanted to show you. And yeah, so this is the parent. When the address is fetched, the parent objects are brought automatically. The same way when I fetch the address zip, I'll show you that also. That the two parents will be brought.
Rajesh, that means with less queries, we are going to get more details. That's what you're saying.
Yes. By default, when you fetch the address, the parents are coming. The same way, when I fetch the address zip, T004, I guess, yeah. Okay. Address zip list, and I'll return here. Okay. Fetch address zip list. I'll comment the codes here and copy. Address zip list T004 and address list. Okay, I'll delete this object. Address zip list. I'll print. I'll have a debug here. Debug. Yes. So now the address zip list is fetched. If we see here, okay, the query is no. I have to call. Where am I calling it? Okay, I called it here, but there is a compilation error. It should be address zip list. Let me do it again. Okay, the address zip list page. Now, if I go into the debug, I'll grab one of the address zip list, which is 1. If I go to the table, address zip table, line number 1, the address ID is 26. So 26 will be coming address 1 and the parent is 27. So 27 also will be coming RS7. Let's see. So inside the address slip, I have the address object, which is 26. I got it. Inside the address object, I have the user object. So 27. So I am getting the parent and the super parent also, along with just one fetch. If I fetch a table, if the relationships are perfectly set, then I'll get all the data, whatever I need.
Rajesh, here child is child to parent, parent to super parent. Here the super parent means the whole where the parent was stored, like.
No, this one. Now what we are fetching address zip, right?
Okay.
The parent of address zip is address. Parent of the address is
okay. Just okay. More mappings.
Yes. Since everything is mapped, when I fetch this, I can get the super parent. And when I fetch this user, I can get the address zip also. When I fetch address, I'll get both user and also address. So everything is linked.
Rajesh, here usually these things has to be done by SQL guys, right? To fetch the users and everything. Rajesh, you can hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
These things,
queries which you see here, these will be written by the SQL person.
Okay. But in Hibernate, on the Java side, when the Hibernate came, there is an option we can see. That's what you are telling.
No, there is a no.
Possibility.
There is an option we can see, but we are not even writing these queries.
Okay.
Prior to Hibernate, you have to write this query properly. You have to manually write this query, and you have to go to the JDBC section. There it is. Let me open it. JDBC program. JDBC, not here. This select query you see here, we wrote initially. I wrote it manually. Suppose I want to fetch a table, I have to write the query manually. If I want to fetch the address table now without Hibernate, what I will do? This table, this query I wrote, right? This query I will copy. I will go, I will paste it here, and then I will execute from the Java. Now with the Hibernate, I am not writing this query. Nowhere I am writing a query.
Oh.
I need not even know to write this query. Just for explaining you, I'm writing this query.
Okay.
But as a Hibernate guy, I need not even know this query. I need not know the syntax. Okay, select, after select, what should come, I need not know. But if I had to do the same logic in JDBC, I have to, because these are the queries we wrote. When I was taking the JDBC class, I wrote the select query. I explained what is left join.
Okay.
I explained what is where condition, how to set the question mark. Now, I'm not even going to the query, right? I'm not even showing, I'm just showing you that Hibernate is generating the query automatically. All we are doing is, we are just seeing the result. We are not even, we never spoke about the queries now, this week. Previous week, it was fully on query. We were writing the query, we were executing it. Do you understand? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So this is called lazy loading, meaning we are in this example, we are fetching the address. We are fetching only the, we are asking the Hibernate to fetch only the address zip table, this table. But Hibernate is automatically fetching the address and the user. This is called lazy loading.
Okay.
Which means I am lazy, you load everything for me.
Yeah, understood, brother.
Yeah, there is one more loading which is called as eager loading, which is only when we try to access that object, the object type will be loaded. Otherwise, the object type will not be loaded. Let us see how to. I'll go to the documentation. Hibernate doc, lazy and eager. Okay. Where is the documentation? JBoss. Okay, so we will see here fetching strategies. So if you see they are given, Hibernate uses a fetching strategy to retrieve the associated object. If the application needs to navigate the association, okay, first is join fetching, which is same as the join which we read previous week, like inner join, outer join. Next is select fetching, which is specified by lazy false. We'll see this. Then subselect fetching is used to retrieve the associated collection which was retrieved in a previous query. Then batch fetching is something we give here the batch size. Let's say this is a collection, right? This can have 100 or 1000 elements. So if you give batch size 10 will be fetched at a time. So these are the different types of fetching, like lazy, proxy, no proxy, and we'll see here. So there is the, yeah. So when, okay, I'm not actually going to this one. This is not the correct place. I have to show you the annotation based. This is all XML based. Initially, what happened before these annotations, we were using XML. So there used to be one XML file. There we will be writing all the mapping. Now it's all gone. It's all reduced. It's very easy for the developers now to write it. Here it is. In the fetch profile, no. Do we have a fetch profile? No. Not this one. One second. I took the documentation this morning. One second. Let me search in my other machine. I had the link to show you. I am not getting that link. Maybe if I get, I'll share in the group. I should have shared morning itself. Okay. Here in one to many, we will give here. There is a property. Fetch equal to fetch type dot lazy and eager. Let's see what is the difference between lazy and eager. Let us say I'm giving here lazy. So where I'm giving from user to address. So from user to address, I'm giving the fetch as lazy. I will go back to the program. I will enable the fetch user. And let's see the queries. I'll comment this out purposefully, because when I give a sysout, it is going to query everything. So now I execute this. We'll just watch the number of queries which is getting generated. When I fetch the users, see here, only the user is fetched. Now, let us change this to eager. Oh, there is something else, some downloads going on. I don't know, some download is happening. Okay, so the difference between lazy and eager is, let us say we have this object. I am trying to fetch the user. We have seen that the address is as a collection inside the user. When I give lazy, it means I'm telling to the Hibernate, you be lazy and fetch everything at once. So when we load it, user will fetch the address will fetch the zip. When I give eager, it means you don't fetch it lazily. But when I try to access the list by using getter, dot get, when I try to access, so how do we access this list? We call the getter function here, dot get address. When I try to call this one, then you trigger the query and load the address. So that is what eager is. Sometimes it is also called as a proxy, where just a reference is loaded, not the actual object. Anyways, so I'll note it down. It's not going to work now. I'll note it down. I'll show you sometime later. I want to show one more property, which is just a concept. There is a method. Okay, when we come to the fetch, what I am using dot list, this class dot list. I want to show about two methods which is provided in the Hibernate, which is the criteria. Oh no, I have to write a separate method. One second. I'll copy. Load user. I'll have a method. It's not going to return a list. Instead, it will be returning only one object. Here I will return one object, user obj, and the user object equal to, okay, I cannot use this one. So I'll remove all these criteria. Okay, so we have an user object now. Criteria dot load. It is now the session dot load. There is a method session dot load, and there is a method session dot find. This will be useful many of the times when you deal with Hibernate. Let us see what is the difference.
Rajesh, your voice is not audible.
How about now?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I brought it. Yeah, I brought it nearer. So what I was telling, I'll use the find first. What find is expecting a class. This case, I'll go T001 class and then object. So what object I can give? Let me give an integer, new integer of 1. Let me try this. Dot class. Okay, session dot find. And what it is going to return? User object. It is going to return a user object. So T001 user obj equal to. I have this already. I'll reuse this. Okay, so now let us see whether it is working or not. Okay, why it is already declared. Okay, when I call the fetch user, let us see. Okay, the query has executed. No big difference. I'll write one more method, then I'll tell you what is the big difference here. find user instead of, oh no, here I have to use load user. Here load and here find. Two methods are there. So both the methods, it's going to take user ID. So it's going to join in the user ID column. So that is great. Okay, let me run this method. Fetch, it is not fetch user. I think I called wrongly. Okay. So DAO IMPL dot load user and DAO IMPL dot find user. Both. Let's have both. T001 user obj equal to user obj1 equal to. I'll have a debug and this is out. Okay. Okay, super. So if you notice, did you notice something here? I'll repeat what I did. I'll clear this. Just notice here. I'm running it. Can you notice something here? So we have, if you see line number 25 and 26, I have called two methods in DAO, but see here only one query got executed. I am calling load user. I'm also calling find user. Let me give a sysout and show which is generating the query. 1 and 2. If the query comes before 1, then load user is generating. If the query comes after 1, then find user is generating the query. See here. So load user did not even run a query. But I'll repeat the same process. No. I should stop here. Here I will show you. System.out.println. Let us print the user name from the result object. You see both are same methods. Integer 1, integer 1. Exactly method. This alone I changed from load and find. So find is going to call the find. Load is going to call the load. Now here I will try to print the user object dot get user name. Okay, from the first object whatever we got. And next I'll do the same line using the second object. Now let's see. Okay, so see here something has happened. One, then
one came out.
Yeah, then the first query got executed.
And then the two come out. And
two came out. Then second query got generated from nowhere, right? We are not calling a query here. I'm just giving a sysout. Correct?
Yeah.
After 2, there is no hit to the database. The database hit is over here and here. Here, no query came. 1 came. Then query came, 2 came. When I am just giving a sysout, DB hits goes. This is the beauty, or this is a very good performance method which Hibernate is providing, meaning find. If you are going to call a find method, 100% the Hibernate will run the select query for you. If you call the load method, Hibernate will not run the select query unless you access it. Because what Hibernate states is, okay, you are asking me to fetch an object, but I really don't know whether you need this object or not. You might even call it simply. You might not even need an object like this. So why should I fetch an object and give you a result? Instead, I will load a proxy for you. Whatever the object we are getting here is a proxy object. And when we try to access the name, that time it will go back. Okay, this guy needs the object really. He didn't just like that. He didn't send me a query. He really needs the object. Then now it's time for me to go and get the value. I'll call the query and get the value. That is how it works. If I don't give the sysout, the second query will never be called. See here, it's never called. The first object query will never be called. The second object query, 100% it is going to call, because we have called the find. So anyhow, it is going to have the value here itself in 27. So we print the value here. But in line number 25, we never have an object, or we never have a value. So it is not going to be printed. When we try to access using sysout, then it is going to be called and then we get the value. Any questions?
No, Rajesh.
Okay. So this is one of a very powerful method, but the thing is, like, many of them don't know this fact and why these methods are there. That is what I keep on telling. Everything is there for a purpose. Just like that, they have not given the methods. You should go through the documentation. Documentation is the key. You should read every single method. Why do I have? See here, the load is having these many overloaded methods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 methods they have with the load, because they know that people might need 7 different functionalities of the same method, of the same logic. They need 7 different functionalities. But I've rarely seen people know these difference also. Like, many of them don't know what is the difference between load and find. Why do we have a load and find? This is for performance. This will give a proxy. When I give, okay, I'll start in debug mode and then I'll open that object and show you what is there in it. Let us print the object and see.
Rajesh, debug mode means step by step like that.
Debug mode means there is a small bug right here.
Okay.
I can have breakpoint and I can view what is happening. Like, I give here breakpoint. So when the program is at this stage, I'll see what is happening. When I run it, I cannot see what is happening. I can give only sysout. So when I go in debug mode, after line number 25, 26, 27. Okay. So now we have the, see here, that is why I printed this object. The first object, whatever we are getting, I printed here. You can see here, Hibernate eg.user. This is an, okay. First it is because I accessed it. No, I have to comment this. Let me go back. It will be as a proxy object. Proxy means it's a duplicate. Okay, so I should not touch that object. If I touch the object, it will load. See here, Hibernate proxy. If I touch means it is equal to accessing. I'm trying to access the value. So when I touch it, see the query is generated. When I touch, it means okay, you want to see the values. So I need to fetch it. But if you see here, it is a Hibernate proxy. But the other one, it is not a Hibernate proxy. See here, value. The first one is showing as Hibernate proxy. Second one is not showing as a proxy because this is a real object. This is a proxy object. The object will be fetched only when you really need to access the value. And this is so powerful in the application that this will reduce a lot of DB hit. Many times we will not even know whether we need an object or not. Unnecessarily, we'll be writing a query to fetch the object. We'll always call find. Every time the query will be run, but we'll not even use the result. So let's leave it to Hibernate to decide whether it really needs it or not. When we try to access, anyway, it's going to fetch the value. So this is one of the powerful thing you should understand. So when you write applications, it's efficient. So with this, I think I have covered almost like whatever you need for a live project to be used. I'll quickly go over, I'll do a quick recap of whatever we discussed. So Hibernate is a middle layer. One second, I'll go here, slides.google.com. I'll bring up the PPT. Here it is. Okay, so this is where we started. So any application will have a 3-tier user interface layer. This can be in HTML, JSP, jQuery, Angular, ASPX, or PHP. The business logic layer, this can be in PHP, C#, ASPX, PHP, Python, Java, or .NET, anything, whatever, any technology. And the database layer, MS SQL, MySQL, Oracle, Teradata, whatever you want. So to communicate with the way data flows is from the user interface, we capture the value, we send it to the business logic layer. Business logic layer processes the data, it fetches from the database and do some massaging in the data, and it returns back to the user interface for a good presentation. Example, your email, you hit the inbox and you hit on fetch email. The actual fetching of the email will be done in the business logic layer. The exact email, the actual email data will be available in the database layer. So this business logic layer is going to pass your email ID and ask the database to give the result. That result will be taken and it will be processed, and in a neat way in your email ID, in your email view, you are seeing the emails, but in the database, it will be in a different format. So the middle layer, there will be a layer in the middle layer itself. We have separate layers. The last layer which interacts with the database, we have the ORM, which is the object relational mapping. The first layer which interacts with the HTML is the controller. This is what we saw in the web application, a controller service DAO. So in the DAO layer, the ORM Hibernate is introduced, and so that the query can be minimized or even eliminated, and the Java developers need not know the query. So this is going to hit the database and do the operations. How does it
Rajesh,
do?
the Java developers need not know the query means, but they want to know at least a little bit on what the query is.
They need to know the a relationship or ORM, like not ORM, ERD, the how the tables are designed, which table is linked with which table at the business logic level, they should know.
Okay. And one more thing,
That
Rajesh,
is, yeah.
I'm good with that. And one more thing here, the first part, you told right, the front end part. It's the this one, yeah, that is front end, right? You can
Correct,
say
that is front end.
the business logic layer. We can say like back end,
Middle layer, that is
middle layer.
back end is database.
Usually, you know, some job descriptions, front end developer, back end developer, it will come like that.
Actually, they mix up, but you should ask. Most of the time, the terminology they use is like they give Java as a backend, but it's not a backend. The way they are telling backend is they divide this entire into two layers alone. This is one layer, and this whole using the tilde database, they call it as a backend.
Backend, okay.
Yeah, maybe using that terminology, people speak and they tell us the backend. But there are companies or there are places where they specifically tell backend means it's only database. So
and full stack is the whole thing.
Yeah, full stack everything. Correct.
Everything, okay.
So when someone tells backend, we should clarify whether what they mean by backend, whether including database or only the Java part. It depends on person to person.
Okay.
So next we saw how Hibernate does it, and Hibernate does it using a session factory. So using session factory, we create a connections, and the session factory takes care of creating the connections, terminating, restarting, rollback, exceptions, the connection pooling. So all these are done in configuration part. And once the connections are taken, using the connection, using the session factory, we receive the values. We receive the connection and we can send the queries. Not queries, we can send the actual database hits. So there are different modules in the Hibernate we saw. And then we came to, then we came to how to configure the Hibernate. We have the Hibernate utils where we provide the database related values. And once this is done, this is a key thing you have to remember. All the objects should be added here. Then we create objects. The equivalent of the object is the table. We give the table name here and the columns, and we give the columns. Then we saw one to many and many to one, which is a parent-child relationship. This is one to many address to one user, one address to many zip to one address. So we give one to many will always be a set, and many to one will be an object. The other side of the relation, if you see, it will be object. So many to one we give using which column it has to join. It is always in the address table, the current class table. And this is also in the other side of relationship, the other table, which is the address table. And we saw today what is eager and what is eager and lazy. I'll give some example. I noted it down. So later part, I'll come back on this and I'll show you. And then what we saw, we saw lots of examples on how to fetch, how to write a criteria, how to save an object, setting up the parent child, which is one of the key. If you tell that you know Hibernate, one to many, many to one, 100% default question they'll ask. 100% is a standard question, because one without the only power of Hibernate, why we are going is one to many and many to one. Because with one save, I am able to save into all the child tables, if you see. And with one fetch, I can fetch all the tables, whatever is there. And that is possible only with one to many and many to one. So if you tell you know Hibernate, you have to 100% know one to many and many to one. You have to clearly know how it works. And then we saw a couple of examples on restrictions, like queries and match modes, how to do the projection, the total count, row counts, pagination, first results and max results. So you can uncomment these files and check it out. And then today we saw two important, very important methods in the session object, which is load and find. So load is just going to load a proxy, not the actual object. And find is actually going to load the actual object. Yeah, I have it. Load and find. And we saw examples of how to fetch the parent and child. So we see that in the child, by default, the parent object will be coming up as it is many to one relation. So as a whole, we have covered almost whatever is needed for a live project to work upon. Anything beyond that, the documentation will definitely help you out. You can go to the document, all examples are provided. And when you get time, just go through the documentation, copy the examples and try it out. So this program, I will share it now in the chat, so you can save it. So any questions you can ask me anytime. One second, let me zip it. And so this is a complete working example, whatever we have done. This will work as it is when you push it to your Eclipse. There is no extra things needed. Everything will work perfectly. Okay. JDBC example. Yeah. So I've sent it. It's a 6 MB file. So just save it. This can be useful as a reference. So when you go into this, you'll, along with the video, you'll be able to recollect whatever we have done. Any other questions apart from this? And next week, what we will see is we will take up this code and we will go back to the web application what we developed. We will see how to integrate Hibernate with the Spring Boot application. That will be part of the next week.
Okay.
Okay. Okay then. So we'll pause here for today. We'll meet up again Monday morning. Okay.
Yeah, sure, Rajesh. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.